Have you ever wondered if the rates of childhood obesity have been held constant over the past few decades? Well, unfortunately, the answer to this question is no. Childhood obesity has significantly increased in recent history and poses a major health threat to our society. It is even considered an epidemic, and children today are heavier than they've ever been in the past. Because of this, it is important that all people are educated about what obesity actually is, the risks that are involved, and the steps that can be taken to reduce it in the future. Overall, obesity is defined as having excess body fat and a BMI greater than the 95th percentile based on the age, sex, weight, and height of the individual. In general, obesity tends to increase with age, and more boys are diagnosed with it than girls. This gender difference is often explained because of societal pressures. For example, boys sometimes feel more pressured to be bigger as they will seem more powerful and stronger in contact sports such as football. In contrast, females might feel more pressure to be thin, as in society this has been labeled as a more attractive body type. In addition to this, there's also genetics, lack of physical activity, an inadequate diet, and socioeconomic status that all come together to play a role in obesity. Although a child cannot control their genetics or social status, they do have some control over the foods that they eat and the amount of exercise they get throughout the day. If a child is consuming more than they are expending, then this can cause them to have an increase in body fat and become overweight in the future. In contrast, if a child decides to go outside and play and expend more energy, then this will decrease the likelihood that they will become overweight. Therefore, one cannot solely blame genetics because all of these factors become together to be interrelated with one another. Now that the general concepts regarding obesity were examined, the next topic of discussion deals with the risks and outcomes associated with childhood obesity. Obesity is a very comorbid disease, meaning that it is highly linked and related to other diseases. One of the biggest diseases it's related to is cardiovascular. Cardiovascular disease consists of the factors of having an increase in blood pressure, higher cholesterol, and abnormal glucose levels. In a study completed on children ages 5 to 17, approximately 60% of overweight children had one of these factors. Additional types of physical illnesses associated with obesity is type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, and asthma, just to name a few. Physical illnesses are not the only thing related to childhood obesity. Obesity is often also related to psychological issues, because children that are obese are more likely to be the targets of bullying. Being a target of bullying can cause a child to have very low self-esteem. Having low self-esteem at such a young age can inhibit them from performing well in school and can even affect their social functioning later on in life, which can cause them to become depressed or have anxiety. Because childhood obesity does have such an effect on the body, it is important that people are educated about what can be done to prevent it in the future. One of the biggest aspects of this involves adult supervision, such as parents, guardians, or teachers. Because children learn by observing adults, it is important that adults themselves do things to instill healthy behavior in their children. This can include eating healthy meals with them or interacting and play with them. If a child is really young, then the parents can also try to make the meals more fun by adding colorful foods such as fruits and vegetables. However, parents and teachers are not the only things to affect the child's health. Children can also be placed in prevention programs. One of the biggest prevention programs is the MEND program. This is a 10-week session taught by trained professionals that work with children ages 2 to 5 to teach them about healthy eating habits and physical activity. Their main goal is to work with children at a very young age so that they can instill healthy habits that can then be carried out throughout life. Another very similar program is called the Shape It Up program. This program is a little bit different in that it actually gets the children moving around and they actually give them foods that are healthy. For example, during games, instead of giving them candy, they will give them fruits and vegetables as prizes. These two are not the only programs available. There are many more out there that target all ages to help reduce the chances of children becoming obese. In conclusion, the increase in rate and severity of childhood obesity is not something that should be taken lightly in the United States or even throughout the world. Both adults and children need to be educated about the topic. Having an accumulation of unhealthy habits can cause a child to become obese in the future. All children should be able to enjoy a happy and healthy life instead of living in fear of any physical ailments. The more educated you are, the more likely that childhood obesity can someday be eradicated and will no longer be considered an epidemic.